Guest of the channel. My name is Yuri, and the topic of today's talk is pros and cons of long distance relationship. Last week, I talked about danger signs of long distance relationships, and people wanted to see more. People requested via their comments for additional videos. And so I decided to do this video today, this live talk, dedicated to pros and cons. So it's not all bad things when we're talking about long distance relationships. There's clearly some advantages and some disadvantages, like anything else in life. So I want to be able to touch on both today. Be sure to leave a like. Be sure to smash the bell so you can receive notifications for all the future live talks and all the future videos. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Um, Also, check out the info about supporting the channel, about becoming a member, as well as joining my Discord community. All that information is included in the description of this video um, for your convenience. There's a fly flying, little bitty fruit fly flying, and it's bothering the crap out of me. I can see it in the periphery. I can see it going, but I don't want to swipe it because I can probably destroy my mic by doing that. If you are watching me live, be sure to interact with me via your comments, your thoughts, and your questions as I am bestowing this wisdom and knowledge upon you. Uh, this is always a lot of fun when I interact with my Prototype Fam community. You always have insightful examples from personal life. You always tend to bring up some interesting points that I don't think sometimes, that I don't think about sometimes. And that makes it for a very worthy discussion and interesting talks. So please continue to do that. I want to encourage you. Who we have in the house so far? Looks like we have Heather in the house. We have Kaya in the house. We have Goldie Gal in the house. Thank you all for joining. Remember, in order for me to see you, you need to leave a comment. I cannot see you unless you actually type in a comment. Then I can see it on my end. V is in the house as well. Appreciate you all being here with me live. Let's go ahead and jump in. So the pro number one of a long distance relationship is communication sample. What this will allow you to do is essentially figure out how serious your partner is in terms of communication. And that oftentimes could mean how serious this person about this relationship. Are they good at communicating? Are they consistent with their communication? Are they doing the little things like, scheduling this communication, these FaceTime sessions, or whatever platform you're using? Are they taking steps to make these things happen intentionally? Because if the answer is yes, if they are doing that, that shows a good intent towards this relationship. Right away, you have something positive to draw from. And it does take a lot of effort. Make no mistake about it. Because you are not present, because you're in a long distance relationship, these extra communication sessions, this time that you're able to spend together face to face, or through voice messages, or through text messages, establishing the presence within relationship, all those things will go a great length. It's going to mean a whole lot for this relationship, because that is the way that you'll be able to make up for the lack of presence, actual presence, face to face time, as you would in a normal relationship. So I would caution everyone who is listening is to pay attention to details. How these communication practices being conducted on a daily basis? These are important questions. If you're paying attention to those little things, it can really kind of lead you to a bigger picture. Using my own example, I've had two long distance relationships. My long distance relationships been quite different, I would say, also because one of them I've met the person beforehand, but then that person went to another country and then we had to communicate remotely. And then the second relationship, I was living only a couple hours away from the person I was dating. So a lot of time we also communicated over the phone, but it was a lot easier to see that person because it was only a 2 hour drive. So the dynamic of the relationship changes very much. For instance, in comparison with a relationship that you established online and you live in different countries and very far away, and you cannot go and see that person anytime. So that communication becomes even more important in those cases where you cannot reach another person physically. I believe it's not to be ignored. I believe that's something that you can really draw a lot of information from. Pro number two of a long distance relationship is new experience. Without a doubt, these long distance relationships, they can bring something completely different into your life, something that you never ever experienced previously. And whether you're dating someone in a different state or whether you're dating someone in a different country, there is a number of opportunities that you will have in front of you just simply by engaging in this long distance relationship. So let me give you a couple of examples. Even if you're dating someone who is living in a different state, right away you can go and experience a different state. Maybe if you're living in North Dakota and you're dating someone from South Dakota, maybe it's not that big of a deal. But if you live in Pennsylvania and you're dating someone in Colorado, that's becoming a pretty big deal because that's going to be a completely different part of the country. That's going to allow you the opportunity to go into a different state and immerse yourself in a different environment. So I think that's a big deal. Let's take it a step further. If you're dating someone from a different country, like many, well, I don't know if many of my community members, but certainly some of my community members are in that predicament. So if you're dating someone from a different country, that takes it to a whole different level. You can go in and see a European country if you're dating someone from Europe. You can go out and see an Asian country, or vice versa. Maybe they can come to your country and experience it firsthand. To me, these experiences are priceless. The reason I dwell on it, the reason I spend so much time on it, because think about how this experience can shape you as a person. Because once you have some of these experiences, you're going to see world in a different way, right? So a lot of you probably like to travel or love to travel as is. So I don't have to sell you the idea of traveling. But what I'm trying to say is that I would capitalize on long distance relationship, the idea of actually being purposeful, being intentional about scheduling something, scheduling a trip, putting yourself out there, allowing yourself an opportunity to go out and experience something different, whether it's a different state or different country, because ultimately these experiences can really change you forever. A silly example, you know, I've never ate avocado before I moved to the United States. And now I eat avocado all the time. I love avocado now. And one of my exes introduced me to avocado. I've never had avocado before, but she did good guac. Not avocado, I meant guacamole, obviously. So she did amazing guac. Now I eat guac all the time. It's a little thing, but you can say that I'm not the same person because of the guac. Now I'm eating guac. Pro Number three pro of a long distance relationship is anticipation. So this is a build up to the day you finally meet him or her. And this could be a very powerful feeling to experience because the excitement of seeing this other person is real. The anticipation of finally meeting that person is exhilarating. And I think you kind of climb into this emotional peak that can be so s- almost overpowering if the time is right, if you planned it correctly, if you're both on the same page, if you're both excited. And my thing with this is just set up the date and count down the days. Um, and when you do that, it almost has this kind of a vintage feeling to it when people used to write letters. I don't know if you can connect with that point or not, but to me, there's something classic almost about it, right? But back in the day when people used to write letters and tell each other, let's meet on this day or in this location, and then you just like, you hold on to it. You just counting down the days. You look forward to it. There's something romantic about it. There's something vintage and classic about this. You have the opportunity to have a similar type of anticipation with long distance relationships when it comes to meeting someone that you are dating. Another pro of a long distance relationship is going to save you time and money. Just, it is what it is. Let's call it as is. Dating is expensive nowadays. And you know, no regular meals and trips will save you some serious bucks. It will. And this is a pro. This is definitely pro. You can probably sit down and estimate. You might not have the real numbers in front of you, but you can guesstimate what it would be like to go on the dates. And of course, they will vary also. I mean, this is not going to be across the board for men and women, right? Depending on, if you're dating a traditional man, if you're a traditional woman, if you are splitting everything 50-50. But even just commuting, I mean, you're still going to pay for gas. You're still probably going to split, there's going to be some expense with events that you're going to go, the trips that you're going to take. I mean, all these things cost money. And sometimes it's amazing how fast these things can build up if you don't pay attention and if you just living free, right? Like, oh, I just want to go to this event. Okay, let's go. Let's let's just reserve it. Let's get the tickets. I mean, and let's just go. Let's not think about how much it costs or whatever. Let's just enjoy. I love that kind of attitude, but the drawback is that you can spend a lot of money doing those type of things. Enjoying life is expensive. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. It can be pretty pricey. So with the long distance relationships, of course, it's not to say that you can't that you wouldn't be sending gifts. Maybe you will be, but again, if you're dating someone in another part of the world, unless unless money isn't the issue, you're probably not going to be showering another person with gifts because it's not cost effective, you know? So the way that to showcase your feelings of love and care and support and affection may be different just from sending gifts. It may be via communication, it may be via thoughtful things that you're going to say and do. It's not necessarily going to express itself, manifest itself in the form of presents. Hence, is going to equal savings, and that's not to be ignored. Let's look at some comments, shall we? So I went through pros just now. These were the things that I had down for the things that are good when it comes to long distance relationships. Let's see what people are saying. If someone doesn't think communication is as important as you in the LDR, drop them. Communication is very important. Very, very important. There's no doubt about it. It's going to tell you more than you think it will. How did you live without guac? I don't know. Sometimes, you don't know what you don't know. So, what they say, ignorance is a bliss. If you don't know you're missing it, then you really, you really don't know you're missing it. I think that we'll have a lot of guac enthusiasts here. Guac is delicious. There's no doubt about that. I thought you didn't support LDR. I'm just simply communicating pros and cons. If you ask me, would I do the LDR right now? My default answer going towards no. But I'm also aware that no can turn into yes under the right circumstances. So I never want to be completely closed minded to some things. And LDR for me, I would prefer not to have it. In the moment I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to talk about cons, and hopefully it will help you to understand why. I'm just waiting for the negative because we know Yuri is anti. I don't prefer it, but it doesn't mean that I don't see value in it. If you're just joining, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, make sure you hit that bell so you receive notification for all the future videos and all the future live talks. Consider becoming a member of this amazing Prototype Fam community. Give me a hashtag in the comments, Prototype Fam. Consider joining the Discord community. Yes, we have Discord server for the Prototype Fam where we talk about a lot of different things. And when we engage in a daily conversation, which is amazing. And then, of course, consider supporting the channel. Every single cent and every single dollar received will be utilized for the content and improving the channel. You can see all the information pertaining to all the things I just mentioned in the description of the video. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the first con of LDR. The first con of LDR is obvious: no physical touch. You can say whatever you want. This one is the biggest for me. This is one of the hardest thing to deal with when you're in a long distance relationship is a lack of physical affection, lack of a lack of love, physical love. No cuddles, no kisses, no ass slaps, only phone sex and dick pics. Well, that's taking it a bit of a too extreme. People are like, hold on, somebody said dick pics? Who said that? Who said that? Where dick pics? We have a lot of fun with some of these topics of conversation in the member chat on Instagram. Let me tell you, it's a blast. Because once somebody throws like a little pitch, people just start hitting home runs with those things, with those topics, right? My members know exactly what I'm talking about. So yes, you have to leave off essentially visual representation in desirable thoughts or what you would want, and you have to get by telling the other person how much you want them, by listening how much they want you, imagining these things. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not for everyone, yo. And maybe, listen, maybe for some people who are less affectionate, it's not a big deal. I don't know. It could be the case. I just know that for me, it was a torture because I wanted to be physical with my girlfriend at the time. I wanted that physical affection with her. I needed it. I craved it. I missed her. So listen, what kind of person are you? You got to be honest with yourself. Are you kind of person who doesn't have to have it, or you kind of person who is willing to make a sacrifice, or you kind of person that going to have a really hard time with it? It's about self-awareness. You have to be honest with yourself first. This is for me one of the biggest things, as I mentioned. This is one of the this is a deal breaker because especially if you start dating someone, right? I can understand if you're already dating or you're already married. If you, meaning when I say dating in a committed relationship and you've been together for a particular period of time, when you know you're going to end up together, and then if you at that point, if you had to be apart from one another for a particular time period, fine, I can understand that. But if you are just starting to date and you choose to date someone online and you purposely doing that because you're willing to sacrifice this physical part, you're brave. I mean, listen, more power to you. But again, this is not for everyone. To me, is a con. The second con of a long distance relationship is potential scammers. So in the last week's video, I talked about warning signs of a long distance relationship. So be sure to check it out. But it's a real threat. There are a lot of people in the world right now that make a point to fool and deceive other people in other countries by means of dating. And it's very unfortunate to see. It's heartbreaking to see. But these stats continues to rise. I've made a video, I think it was at some point last year, where I talked about stats and how the comparison was, I believe, between 2015 data and 2018 data in terms of number of these romance scam cases, as they call them. And the increase or the loss of money, even just from 2015 to 2018, I believe was the year, it was very significant. It was very significant. So this is not anecdotal. This happens. It happens in a lot of different places with a lot of different people, and the scammers are becoming more crafty. They are becoming more skilled. They are understand how to trick people now. They developing new strategies in order to be trusted by the person that they are speaking with. And ultimately, in a lot of cases, they are able to acquire money from people. In some cases, they're able to acquire citizenships. In some cases, they're able to acquire presence. Just depends on the situation. So you really have to be critical when it comes to long distance relationship, when it comes to scammers. And the reason being, it becomes more difficult to identify who the person is. You have to really be on your, what I'm trying to say, you have to be really good at knowing how to utilize resources in order to figure out who the person truly is. And there are some resources that you can use, but when it comes to international dating, it becomes more difficult. So this is especially relevant when when you are meeting someone online for the first time and when you start dating online. How can you identify when someone is a scammer? I mean, there's some of the obvious red flags for me when you date someone and they ask something from you, when clearly they are not hiding that they need something. That's one of them. And then there's quite a few other ones. So check out the videos. Check out the danger signs video. I don't want to just recap everything that I talked about there, but when person is, asking for a particular help or support, especially in the early stage of the relationship, that's something to be aware of. That's not a good thing, in my opinion. And you can tell me in the comments if you can think of situations where you think when you would deem it to be appropriate. But in all honesty, I think it will be very few, far in between, that I would deem it appropriate. Next, kind of a long distance relationship, is hard to know true intentions. And this one is kind of intertwined with the previous point, but you really don't know sometimes what people want because you simply might not understand or have a way of knowing their circumstances. They might be coming from a place where they have terrible life. They might be coming from a place where they cannot afford medicine. And this could be one way that they reserve to in order to acquire, the money that they need to be able to sustain themselves or their family. um, the true intentions, this is such a tough one because people can be very deceiving. People can be very good actors or actresses, and people can do that for extended period of time. That's important to understand. People can also engage their family members in order to make you believe that they're legitimate. So, coming back to the scammers point, I mentioned that they're becoming more crafty. They will go a gray lengths in order to deceive you. They will do that. They will create an impression or perception that they are a real person, that they have a regular life, that they can be trusted, and that furthermore that they care for you. They will create that impression in a heartbeat. And once you emotionally hooked on that idea, this is very hard to get out of. And it breaks my heart to see some of the women, because I think a lot of those cases targeting women, because women more emotionally driven, women more emotionally connect. So if some men know that in other countries and they understand that this particular woman could be lonely, she may be in need of companionship, partnership, then they would serve this type of things on a golden platter in front of her, making her believe that that's what she's getting. So it's a very dirty way of, you know, it's a deception. It's a freaking deception. It's a one-way road to where you think you are in a meaningful relationship, but in fact you are not. You just being manipulated skillfully by a con artist, and therefore you really have to watch people very closely and listen. That should go without saying that when you date someone from another country, is a stranger, it's hard enough to date somebody right in your in your immediate geographical area where you can properly evaluate the person. It's hard enough to do that. Now you're going to be, you are now in a situation where you're dating someone, a stranger, thousands of miles away, without knowing fully what the culture is, without fully understanding their situation. One step at a time. I'm not saying that it can be a good thing. It can be a good thing. People do get married, people do find their love that way, but you have to go slow. You have to go one step at a time. You have to really understand. And honesty, how do you even advise something in this situation? Like, I can't give you an advice. Don't fall for him or for her. I can't give you that advice. That's a subjective thing. But I think if you do, before you do, you just have to understand what could be on the other side of that coin. If you not fully know, and in a lot of cases, my point is you're not going to fully know who that person is or what this person is about. So you have to figure out a way in your own mind, right? How to protect yourself. So maybe you can be cautiously optimistic. Maybe you could be slightly emotionally grounded. Can I say that? Is it a good? It doesn't make sense when I say emotionally grounded. It does not mean that you're not going to give somebody your attention, your compassion, your love, but maybe in slightly smaller doses. Maybe it's not going to be jump off the bridge all at once. Maybe it's just going to be a very gradual descent with a safety rope. You like that? We'll leave it at that. Instead of jumping from the bridge all at once, it's a gradual descent with a safety rope. And then one more thing I wanted to mention as far as a con of a LDR is a waiting game. There's no other way to explain it. I mean, you're going to wait. And everybody who've been in a long distance relationship, they understand that. This thing's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to be patient within this process, within the process of getting to know that person through the screen. You're going to have to be patient with, setting these dates when you finally can meet. You're going to have to be patient just for the sake, hoping that things are going to work out. I mean, think what's going on in the world right now. Like anyone who is dating people from Russia or Ukraine right now is in a total chaos, complete chaos, for obvious reasons. You can't even get to these countries right now. It's dangerous there right now. So people in these countries are going through tremendous amount of stress, especially Ukraine. And the last thing they're probably going to be thinking about is dating, right? So it's an extreme example, but example nonetheless. So that could mean waiting even more. So what is the circumstances of the person that you are dating? I mean, what is the realistic date that you actually can go see them? I mean, are you willing to wait long enough? Is the juice worth the squeeze? And if you telling me yes, 100%, more power to you. This is not to deter you from doing it, by no means. Because if I believe into something, if I believe in an idea, and if I can justify it to myself, and I feel enthusiastic about it, and I tell myself, heck yes, about it, who do I need to report? Nobody. I need to be, first of all, happy about this opportunity, and I need to believe that's the right thing for me. And then the rest of it might not really matter. I mean, I would argue that safety, of course, matters, but that's a different story. We talked about that before as well. Safety always matters. But Can you wait? That's the ultimate question. Are you willing to wait? Is it worth it? Do you think that when you meet that person in person, hopefully that's the goal, and when you do, is this going to be everything that you expected it to be? You might not know that right away. That would be a reasonable thing to say. You're not going to know all these things right away. But from what you know, is it worth it? Is it worth the wait? Because time is not infinite. Those are my thoughts. Let me see your thoughts. The pros are not even really pros, though. You can't trust nobody these days, even when you see them every day. Imagine someone far away. Well, yes, but that's a bit pessimistic approach from for my taste. You know, you gotta see the bright side still. Because if you don't see bright side at all, then what's the point? Period. I mean, let's not date anybody. Let's just sit on our couch and die alone. Also, the cost is not really right. You got to pay for flights and vacation. It's the same thing. The cost thing of seeing somebody, it's a big thing. So it's clearly not included in what do you call it, in cons. I got to think for a second. It's not included in cons. Only pros. Saving. Savings, that is. Yeah, just watch out because there are a lot of people who will try and sabotage a long distance relationship too. Like it isn't hard enough without that crap. Sorry, venting. No, that's good. And no touch sucks. Absolutely. That sucks for sure. LDR might be good if you are more seeking companionship and not necessarily worry about the physical part. I'm 36 with a solid fit body, but I don't like sex, not till marriage. I just love the attention and I like to look at my body in clothes and out. Hey, self awareness comes first. If you know that you're happy with this arrangement, if you just like the attention, if you can get that attention through online dating, so be it. But, you know, time is limited too. Like, I guess my question for you would be like, do you want eventually to get married or have a family? It does a lot of emotional and monetary damage to a person who gets scammed by someone they trusted. 100%. Scammers, it's just terrible, and it's an emotional damage. Emotional damage. You know this video? This Asian kid is hilarious. If you haven't seen it, just Google emotional damage. That's really what it is. It can crush a person because it's unexpected. It's not only unexpected, but it is a betrayal. It comes from a place that you thought was meant to be a place of love, support, and understanding. And all of a sudden, you just get all that shit just come to the surface. Terrible. I joined a widow group a couple of years ago. They were stories of scammers who sought out lonely widows. Yeah, the thing is that they don't discriminate, and I also learned it the hard way. I crazy enough, when I drove Uber like a year and a half ago during the pandemic at one point, and I got scammed by someone who called and pretended that they call from Uber to give me credit. and they were able to scam me. Not luckily, not for a lot of money, but they were able to scam me because they made me believe um, that you know Uber reward me for a good driving record. It's like I, I, I would the way that they conducted it, they did it must like I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how good they were, and I couldn't believe how stupid I was, and it was devastating. It was devastating at the time because it's your time, it's your money, it's your, I don't want to say your pride, but it's just a terrible feeling. So everyone, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. Y- like the balance. The hardest part is to find that balance, because the way that I perceive this is this: I don't want to become isolated from the world and afraid of everything, but I want to become a cautiously optimistic person, as I mentioned before. Cautiously optimistic, maybe not even cautiously optimistic, it's just a person who watches and really think two steps ahead when I do something. So when somebody reach out to you, there are subtle signs that can probably help you to identify it, right? The subtle signs, like, who are these people? How long have you known these people? Can these people possibly want something from you? Are you getting something in return? Are they, you know, what is the goal of the ask, or of what they're trying to do? So you have to be really critical when it comes to unexpected offers, or something suspicious, or even communication nowadays with someone abroad. You should go slow in all relationships. Fast means you miss the red flags. Had to learn that the hard way. Indeed. Emotional grounding is a good saying. Emotional grounding. I like that. I like long distance relationships when both put the effort. Indeed. Absolutely. My friends, thank you so much for joining. For additional content, be sure to subscribe to my Peace Prototype Shorts channel. This is where I do my daily tips, and I cover a lot of different things. It is not just limited to relationship content, it actually related to everyday life. Today I talked about honoring your family as a tip. Um, I have to publicly honor my grandfather, my grandmother, whose 95th birthday would have been today. You know, and that's part of a reason why. Well, that is the reason why I did my daily tip today on honoring your family. I feel that there are some people in our families did so many sacrifices and did so much for us to be where we're at today, and just simply acknowledging that feels good. To acknowledge that, it feels good to be grateful for those type of things. So long story short, you can expect just content, short form content, vertical form content on this other channel, composed of many daily tips on a variety of topics. Before I get out of here, a couple announcements. I do plan to go live next Sunday, May 1st at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. Please join. Please look out for community tab voting. As always, I'll look for suggestions for the next conversation. I look forward to connecting with every single one of you via Instagram, via Twitter, via community tab on YouTube, via your comments on YouTube. It's a pleasure. Just to remind you, is that you can engage in additional opportunities with the channel. You can certainly become a member of a Prototype Fam. Shout out to all the Prototype Fam members who are joining us live. You can join the Discord, where a lot of my Prototype Fam community is as well. And then, of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and set your notifications for all the future videos and live talks. Let's say thank you for every single person that joined. Yvonne, thank you so much for joining and being live with me today. Estrella, thank you for being here. Kaya, thank you for being here with me live. V, thank you for being here. Shen, appreciate you. Jamie, thank you so much for being here. J.O., thank you for hanging out. Let's see. Godigal, appreciate you being here. Heather, thank you for being here as well. Thank you for watching, my friends. With that being said, one more thing. I want to extend my prayers, my thoughts uh, to everyone in Ukraine, to everyone who either lost their loved one, who lost their home, who've been a victim of aggression. I just want to say that I'm praying for you. I'm thinking of all of you, and I'm hoping and I'm praying for this war to come to an end as soon as possible. And with that, my friends, have an amazing weekend. I will be seeing you. I will be seeing you soon, okay? I appreciate every single one of you. Take good care. Peace.